issue seems to keep happening across many industries, where one or even just two successes make the workers and bosses of those businesses begin to really believe their own hype, and nowhere is it more clear than in the gaming industry. And if Rockstar ain't careful after Red Dead 2, they could be due for it as well. I want to talk about the design philosophy because some are starting to think much bigger, and at this point, we ain't trying to make simple games anymore. Weirdos today are aiming for something way bigger. I'm here to show just how close to the sun some of them are flying, and me and my gaming experience means I am the perfect little unique snowflake to show these professionals exactly how to make a video game. And yes, I am off my medication, but that's because it was holding back all these good thoughts I was having. So let's get started. In the early 1990s, many prominent companies attempted to finally bring VR technology into homes and arcades. Of course, the advancement in technology seemed to be ready to the point where investment seemed to be a sure thing. However, it never really worked out. The arcades, the technology to run the machines costed up to $50,000, roughly over $100,000 today, and costed some consumers $5 to play a very primitive video game. None of this worked out well whatsoever. Why do I bring this up? Well, this story for me encapsulates what happens when advancements in technology start making people dream of what could be possible rather than what is possible now. Technology when it comes to video games has come far. The ability of games to truly immerse you in their worlds easier than ever before, or gameplay becoming more refined and still innovated on, like the Nemesis system and the Shadow of War games. But all of these advancements in how a game looks, plays, and engages a player has gotten some devs thinking much bigger. We have seen overambition be the death of many games, but then a studio creates some of the greatest games to date, and it begins to get that overambitious feeling about it. Then add on to the fact that these same studios begin to tell us all about how they will begin making something that is not just a game, not just AAA, but what they begin to describe as something more like quadruple or quintuple A levels of production, and promising not just a great game, but one of the most all-encompassing god games to have ever been made! I mean, well, now you just have a gaming apocalypse. Anyway, you get the point. Studios today are starting to think that making games are not enough. They want, well, the only term I can think of is life simulators, meaning a player has bought into the story or gameplay. It's not enough anymore. The cacti need to have their individual needles be given special attention. You not only need to have conversations with NPCs, you need to be able to hook up with some random dude at the bar. You can't just have a world populated with NPCs walking around, but NPCs that all have backgrounds and will live out their days within the deepest crowd and community systems to date. What even is a community system in a game? What does that actually bring us? My main point, if you haven't caught on, is what exactly are we trying to make with video games now? Are we trying to make those VR commercials like the things they promised us in the 90s? Total break from reality that you will feel you are transported to another world. Probably, actually. Games are trying to break away from the simpler designs of old games. God of War beat-em-ups or turn-based Final Fantasy games are the old era of gaming. We want to make something new, and in turn have found out that we are nowhere close to being whatever Cyberpunk 2077 or other games have attempted, which are living, breathing worlds. And by living and breathing, they mean little details that end up meaning nothing. Studios today crave those Reddit posts that point out,
"Did you guys see this little detail? It's amazing, it's the best game ever! Bro, did you know the horse nuts shrink in RDR2? Did you know in Death Stranding you have to actually balance yourself as if you were a newborn toddler with water on the brain? Did you know that our NPCs have branching dialogue when they're around the water cooler?"
What exactly are we making today? Obviously, Dungeons and Dragons. To play God, and not in the Frankenstein sense, but in the sense of creating those living, breathing worlds. Now think about that. What is D&D? It gives you the ability to be anything or anyone There is no end of outcomes for even just one situation the DM can give you. But now what about video games, like say Fallout New Vegas, an RPG pretty similar to Dungeons and Dragons? It's a game that really focuses on giving the player the ability to be their character, evil or good, the faction you align with, your politics, your strengths and weaknesses as a unique character on that run. However, it's very limited. No matter how much you try in a video game, as a developer, you have limits. You can't be Dungeons and Dragons. However, today devs don't accept this, even though they know they can't achieve this goal. But even worse, some actually think they can. This Cyberpunk was attempting to be the video game equivalent of tabletop D&D. Endless reactions to your actions. People around you respond to you in unlimited ways with their own stories to tell, and they truly believe that they could do all of this. And while I've never made a video game, I have done video editing before. You start with this grand vision of what this video will be. You picture the grand spectacle of effects and edits you will do, making everyone cry out in breathtaking excitement at your prowess with DaVinci Resolve. And you realize quickly that if you were to attempt even put half of the stuff you were thinking of wanting to do in this video, it would take you a year before you even got halfway done. So is the lesson today one of don't even try? No. See, for me, when video editing, I learned a good lesson. Sometimes less is more. And from one tutor I had on the very subject of video editing when I first tried to do the YouTube thing, is no one outside of a close circle knows exactly what happens behind the scenes. Many don't realize how easy your job can be at times. All the time you put into little details that barely anyone will notice in your editing, you could have spent that time making the stuff people will notice better. And I, when writing this video, thought of a very good analogy based on that very lesson. Imagine if Cyberpunk focused during development instead of trying to implement deep FPS, deep cybernetic mechanics, deep RPG choices, side and mainline quests, deep romance options, deep hookup options, deep RPG character creation, deep character RPG traits that affected dialogue, deep dialogue branching stuff, deep RPG questline branching, deep effects of some side quests on main quests, a map that for some reason needed to encompass an entire city and the outlying area. Do you get it yet? You can't do all of this. You are not creating an FPS RPG, you are creating a life simulator. These life simulators focus on details so small and insignificant that add nothing. You have to limit and focus yourself. You know how many employees you have, you know how much money you have. You know, publishers are very stringent with deadlines, so what you should do is make it look like it has all that. Make it look like all the NPCs are deep veins of interesting side lore. Make it seem like everyone around you is going to work having interesting side chats. Make it look like you have a living, breathing world. But wait, it's starting to sound like the creative side of game development also involves a bit of smoke and mirrors. Yes! No gamer typically knows how actually deep your game is. So if you want character Samantha to go to work and all the minute crap therein, she's actually gonna type out her work on her desk, she's gonna actually dynamically do the work, then her boss will judge the work that she has created dynamically, and the boss is gonna reprimand her, promote her, give her a raise based on the quality of the work. And at the water cooler, she's gonna have all this branching dialogue about the weather and the sports. Yeah, that is a living, breathing world. But no one cares about that little detail. All of your players go look at that thing for 2 seconds and go, yep. And they're going to go do something else that is actually fun and substantive. No one cares. Game devs should lie to us more because living, breathing worlds are fake. You're already lying to us. Use the things that gamers can't see to make your world look like it's living, and be smart about it.
I would never accept a game pretending to be something it's not.
We already do. Did you think Witcher 3 was a living, breathing world? No, but they made it look like one. Was Red Dead 2 a living, breathing world? No, but they focused and made it look like one. You don't have time to focus on the shrinking ball sacks of a horse if you don't focus on the main aspects you're trying to build, which was gunplay and story. That's it. And screw the people who think they actually need these things I'm saying are not important. You are making video games worse. Picture how god-awful Red Dead would have been if they had focused on more crap like railway spikes being hammered in. Or if God of War worried about the boogers that could be procedurally generated in the world snake's nose. I don't care. Those aren't what make a game great. They're frivolous details that apparently No one cares about when reviewing the game, or more importantly, spending their money on a game. They don't mean anything. No one cares what's happening backstage where no one can see it. Only the magic being performed in front of them. If CD Projekt Red chose a few aspects of their game to focus on, the game would not be as impressive, sure, but that's assuming they could do everything they wanted to, that they were hoping to do, which obviously they weren't able to. What we could have gotten, what Cyberpunk would have looked like, is the Outer Worlds. I'm a huge Obsidian simp. The Outer Worlds was focused on 3 things: building a character that you made and reflected the personality and playstyle, quests main and side that had different outcomes and paths depending on your skills and choices, and combat. It was truly satisfying to play because they focused on what they did well and didn't focus on the little details no one could see. So CD Projekt Red and all other devs out there, keep it simple, keep it focused, and just give me a good magic show.